If you absolutely love The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, you are going to absolutely love The Rise of Skywalker. If you felt any other emotion towards those two films, I have some bad news for you going in to watch Episode 9.
This is a cross post from my Star Wars channel, StarWars, so if you want more Star Wars content, you can check that channel out, linked below.
So this is a non-spoiler review for The Rise of Skywalker. I will be doing a spoiler review in a day or so. Personally, I don't like reviewing movies without spoilers because I just feel like, what's the point? But I understand with a movie this big, it's necessary. But, you know, on the other hand, this movie really doesn't explain a lot of whys or hows anyways, so I guess I'm just mimicking Episode 9. Which actually brings me into the first thing I want to address. Does Episode 9 adequately close out the Skywalker saga like they were promising us over and over and over again? And the simple answer is no. Going back to those how and whys, at any point during this movie when you see it and you're wondering, why did that happen? How is this character here? The answer is, Disney is so desperate to close out this dumpster fire of a trilogy, they don't give a fuck. And really quick, just to put a perspective on my feelings about the sequel trilogy, because I know that's very important to people, whether you liked Episode 7 and 8, whether they're going to listen to your opinion about Star Wars. It sounds stupid. It is. I thought The Force Awakens was good. I felt really betrayed with The Last Jedi. I know that's a very emotional thing to say you felt betrayed by a movie. It is a thing that happens. Just let it go. But there were also quite a few things about The Last Jedi that I did like. So with that out of the way, people that love The Last Jedi, you can now disregard this entire review because I didn't like your favorite movie. And for people that absolutely trash on The Last Jedi, and if you say a single nice thing about it, you can now call me a Disney shill if you don't like anything I say in this review. Everybody wins! Oh, except for me. Oh. I've never been one to complain about fan service and Easter eggs too much. I mean, occasionally I will say that was maybe a bit too much, but when it comes to Star Wars, I love references, I love nods, I love Easter eggs. Episode 9 should not have been called The Rise of Skywalker. It should have been called Fan Service, the movie. It was actually that bad. It just felt like JJ knew that, man, this trilogy had to end in a way to satisfy people, which I will get a bit into, but how he thought he was going to do it was just throwing Easter egg after Easter egg and reference and nostalgia, and I feel like that's a cheap move if you can't back it up with substance, and you failed to do that. I kind of feel like this movie just threw a bunch of glitter in your face and was like, hey, wasn't that pretty? Where'd the glitter come from? Why'd I do that? I don't know. It honestly felt like, for this movie, Disney execs went to JJ and went, The Last Jedi caused too much fan division, we need you to fix this. And JJ decided, okay, I'm gonna put things in this movie to make everyone happy. You know what happens when you try to make everyone happy? No one is happy, and it's a chaotic mess. At some point, you have to stick to your guns and be like, okay, we did this, you didn't like that, but here's where it took the greater story. You kind of caved in, and by caving in, you made it just terrible for everyone. Which is another big problem. We don't get to breathe in this movie at all. The big moments, the moments where you want to take a few more seconds and absorb it and really feel the emotion, we don't get that time. It's just one thing to the next, to the next. And I get why JJ had to shove so much into about 2 hours, way too much into 2 hours. Not only was he closing out the trilogy, he was closing out the Skywalker saga, and he was trying to fix the dumpster fire of The Last Jedi. Again, sorry if you like The Last Jedi, your opinion is valid. I just don't agree with it. But when you have these huge moments with characters we've spent 3+ movies with, and you can't give us an extra 10 seconds to focus on that big emotional payoff or ending or whatnot, JJ, I know nowadays we all have the attention spans of lemmings, but I promise you, if you would have given us another 10 seconds to absorb that emotional moment, no one would have walked out of the theater. No one would have been like, wow, nothing has been blown up in like 5 seconds. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Another complaint I have, and I know this is pretty trivial, and I'm really sorry. If you read the other canon, especially the canon leading up to episode 9, so the comics, the books, there were certain character relationships, and I'm not saying romantic because I'm not really into romantic relationships when it comes to any franchise, I guess. That's just not my main. Who's screwing who really doesn't interest me that much, I guess is what I'm saying. But when you set up certain relationships, again, not romantic, it's weird when you then watch a movie and what you build up is completely different. Their interactions are just completely opposite. And I get that when it comes to canon, we're supposed to take the movies first and then everything else secondary, but I really feel like the people that are on the storyboard group need to do a better job of going, hey, we were building this up over here in this book, and in the movie, which takes place like months afterwards, it's completely different, and it's kind of weird. So maybe we should just tweak that a little bit. Oh, no, we're not going to go and do that because we're doing the generic thing we do in all movies with bickering and poking at each other. All right, I know you gotta hit that checklist, JJ. And to touch back on the ending of the Skywalker saga and me saying it doesn't adequately close it out, I actually feel, and I say this with 100% sincerity and seriousness, I feel like this movie was very disrespectful to the Skywalkers. An alternate name could have been Episode 9, Fuck the Skywalkers. It just... If you thought this was paying homage to the ending of the Skywalker saga and finally giving closure for all of that and answering questions, I think you actually might be insane, JJ, and you should get help. Now, I know what they're going to do, and they've done this with other episodes in the sequel trilogy. They're going to pump out books, they're going to pump out other canon comics, to explain all the little hows and whys that they didn't answer in this movie and the rush things and all the plot holes we end up pointing out over the coming weeks and months. Disney, because we know they admitted openly, they watch what we're saying and what we're leaking and what we're doing and what we're complaining about, because of course they are. They love money and they want people to be happy. They're going to release canon coming forward to clear up the questions or what's a plot hole, which wasn't a plot hole because the entire time they were planning this. BS. You watch episode 9 and you come look me in the eyes and tell me that this was their plan from the beginning. That for years they had all of this set up. You're lying to yourself and to me if you do that. Some great things. The music and visuals, as always, were wonderful. Great music and visuals in Star Wars goes hand in hand. Williams' music just was gorgeous, but the man's a genius, so we kind of expect that. I enjoy that we got more depth to certain characters, and I feel like certain characters like Finn were treated a lot better in this movie, but oh shoot, I'm about to complain. Characters like Hux just, yeah, if you didn't like the direction he went in The Last Jedi, they continue that, so that's great. I did like some of the references and nods. Yes, they were overdone, but a lot did warm my heart, and I did enjoy seeing all the episodes brought into episode 9, even if it was sloppy. Boy, this was a what I liked area. When I get into my spoiler review, there is a lot more I liked about this movie, I swear. It's just there's a lot they did bad and wrong. Oh, here's a good example. There was something referenced in The Mandalorian that came up in episode 9, and I feel like that was very well done and laid out, and that's planning. That's something that years ahead of time They planned out and said, hey, we're going to drop a little hint of something you're going to see in episode 9, and I think that was great. Lastly, I will say, please don't bring Palpatine into a movie if you are going to treat him that way. Okay, thanks. Ooh, wait, I will give you one spoiler for this movie, which I think is very important. Chewie is not killed by a moon. So those are my thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker. I can't tell you what I would give it a rating-wise. I feel like if I were to look at this movie as an individual episode, I would rank it a lot higher than it being the ending to a trilogy and closing out the Skywalker saga. The scores would be radically different, but unfortunately, you can't judge this movie on its own. It has to be in context with everything else. So, JJ, you tried really, really hard. I know you tried really, really hard, and I feel like because of The Last Jedi, you got screwed over, and I feel like we should applaud you for trying, but you failed. Really looking at this entire sequel trilogy wondering what happened at this point and how it could have been so mismanaged. And that makes me really sad because I love Star Wars, obviously.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree.